Good evening, everyone. My name is Guion Foreman, president of the Chicago Police Board, and I am calling the board's April 20th public meeting to order. I'm going to ask everyone to put their phones on mute. To protect the public's health in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is taking place remotely. Pursuant to the Illinois Open Meetings Act, I have determined that holding this meeting in person is not practical or prudent. The city of Chicago remains subject to the governor's disaster proclamation due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the disease continues to be a threat, especially to the unvaccinated and people with certain health conditions. We are therefore having the meeting remotely this month. This meeting is open to the public via video and audio conference and is being carried live by CAN TV. Members of the public are on mute in order to reduce background noise and disruptions. We have a court reporter making a transcript of this meeting. In addition to police board members, we have several city officials here with us this evening. I will begin by taking attendance so it is clear who is participating in this meeting. Please say here after I read your name. Police Board Vice President Paula Wolf.
Here.
Board Member Stephen Block.
Here.
Board Member Asia Carr Favors.
Here.
Board Member Mariah Cusack.
Here.
Board Member Nanette Doorley. Nanette will be joining us by phone. Board Member Michael Eady.
Here.
Board Member Jorge Montez.
Here.
And Board Member Andreas Safakis.
Here.
Interim Superintendent of Police Eric Carter.
Here.
Chief Administrator of the Civilian Office of Police Accountability Andrea Kirsten.
Here.
Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety Tabara Richardson.
Here.
Chief of Chicago Police Department's Bureau of Internal Affairs Yolanda Talley. Chief of CPD's Bureau of Patrol Brian McDermott. Chief of CPD's Bureau of Detectives Antoinette Ursetti.
Here.
Executive Director of CPD's Office of Constitutional Policing and Reform Tina Scahill.
Here, sir.
General Counsel to the Superintendent Dana O'Malley.
Here.
And Executive Director of the Police Board Lance Caproni.
Here.
Thank you. First, we would like to welcome new board members, Asia Carr Favors and Andreas Safakis, in their first meeting. City Council approved Mayor Lightfoot's appointment of them yesterday, and we very much look forward to working with them on the board. And thank you very much for your service. As we've talked about a little bit, you know, this is, it's not a job where we get a lot of praise and we get a lot of pushback from one side or another side, but it's a necessary service, and really grateful that you all are stepping up to provide the service. So thank you so much.
And Mr. President, we want to acknowledge that these are the first two members appointed under the new process with the CCPSA. And we thank them.
Yes, thank you. And it was a diligent process by the new commission. So they are testament that there's a process. So we'll encourage others as we get openings to submit your names for consideration for joining the police board. We will now proceed to the items on the meeting agenda. We will have time at the end of the meeting for public comments. Once again, members of the public are on mute in order to reduce background noise and disruptions. When we get to the public comment portion of the meeting, we will unmute each speaker. Our next regular meeting will be held Thursday, May 18th at 7:30 p.m. Governor Pritzker's plan to end the COVID disaster declaration, this meeting will be held in person once again at Public Safety Headquarters at 35th and Michigan. So I know that for the last maybe 3 years or so almost, we've been via Zoom. So we're going back in person Thursday, May 18th, 7:30 p.m. at Chicago Public Safety Headquarters. This is posted on the police board's website. The police board meets in executive session to consider various matters. These discussions are closed to the public as authorized by sections 2C1, 4, 11, and 21 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act. Information on matters discussed in the executive sessions is included in the minutes of the meetings posted on our website. Is there a motion to close future executive sessions as authorized by these sections of the Open Meetings Act?
So moved, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
I will now call on members of the board for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Block,
Aye.
Carr Favors,
Aye.
Cusack,
Aye.
Durley,
Aye.
Edie,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
Safakis,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. The motion passes. Next, we will have disciplinary cases. The police board, as authorized by the Open Meetings Act, has considered in a closed meeting 3 police disciplinary cases. The board will now take final action on these cases. Regarding case number 21PB2998, is there a motion to find Police Officer Jose Vargas guilty of engaging in 2 unjustified altercations and making a false report, and to discharge him from the Chicago Police Department?
So moved, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
I will now call on members of the board for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Block,
Aye.
Cusack,
Aye.
Durley,
Aye.
Edie,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Block, Cusack, Durley, Edie, Montez, and myself. The motion passes by a vote of 7-0. Is there a motion to adopt the written findings and decisions that have been reviewed by all board members who participated in the case?
So moved, Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Regarding case number 22PB3001, there are 3 officers accused in this case. We will take a separate vote for each officer. Is there a motion to find Police Officer Chavez Siler guilty of using excessive force on an arrestee and to suspend him without pay for 6 months?
So moved, Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
I will now call on members of the board for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Block,
I oppose the motion.
Cusack,
Aye.
Durley,
Aye.
Edie,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Cusack, Durley, Edie, Montez, and myself. Board member Block votes against the motion. The motion passes by a vote of 6-1. Is there a motion to find Police Officer Corey Boone not guilty of using excessive force, failing to report Officer Siler's use of excessive force, and making a false report, and to reinstate Officer Boone to his position with CPD?
So moved, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
I will now call on members of the board for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Block,
Aye.
Cusack,
Aye.
Durley,
Aye.
Edie,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Block, Cusack, Durley, Edie, Montez, and myself. The motion passes by a vote of 7-0. Is there a motion to find Police Officer Robert Clark not guilty of failing to report Officer Siler's use of excessive force and making a false report, and to reinstate Officer Clark to his position with CPD?
So moved, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
I will now call on board members for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Block,
Aye.
Cusack,
Aye.
Durley,
Aye.
Edie, Montez,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Block, Cusack, Durley, Edie, Montez, and myself. The motion passes by a vote of 7-0. Is there a motion to adopt the written findings and decisions and dissents that have all been reviewed by all board members who participated in the case?
So moved, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Regarding case number 23 PB 3021, the superintendent filed charges against police officer Gianversi Cabral Rivera, recommending that he be discharged from the Chicago Police Department for engaging in sexual misconduct. The superintendent subsequently moved to withdraw these charges without prejudice because Cabral Rivera resigned from the Chicago Police Department. Is there a motion to grant the superintendent's motion?
So moved, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
I will now call on members of the board for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Block,
Aye.
Cusack,
Aye.
Doorley, Nanette? Nanette, if you're on mute, I don't know if you can unmute. Well, we have Nanette as an aye, but for the purpose of this, we're having technical difficulties. Edie,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Block, Cusack, Doorley, Edie, Montez, and myself. The motion passes by a vote of 7-0. The written decisions in the cases on which the board took final action this evening will be entered as of today's date, sent to the parties, and then posted on the board's website. Board members Carr, Favors, and Safrakis did not participate in these decisions because they just became board members yesterday. And I have received a check from Nanette that she is voting indeed yes. So hopefully that suffices. The police board, as authorized by the Open Meetings Act, has considered in a closed meeting several appeals from applicants for a Chicago police officer position who have been removed from the eligibility list due to the results of a background examination. The board will now take final action on these appeals. Is there a motion to adopt the appeals officer's findings and recommendation and affirm the decision to disqualify the applicant for the following appeals: 22 AA 11, 14, and 16, and adopt the appeals officer's findings and decisions and recommendation and reverse the decision to disqualify the applicant for the following appeals: 22 AA 07 and 15.
So moved, Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
I will now call on board members for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Block,
Aye.
Cusack,
Aye.
Doorley is an aye. Edie,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Block, Cusack, Doorley, Edie, Montez, and myself. The motion passes by a vote of 7-0. The written decisions of these appeals will be entered as of today's date, sent to the parties, and posted on the board's website within 5 business days. Again, board members Carr, Favors, and Safakis did not participate in these cases because they became members of the board just yesterday. Next up, we have the superintendent's report. But before we do that, on behalf of myself and the rest of the board members, Interim Superintendent Carter, I would like to give our sincere thank you for an incredible career of public service. U.S. Marines, so you served us well in that capacity, and now over 30 years at the Chicago Police Department. It's been incredible opportunity for me to get to know you and learn a lot more about what you do. And now this is a great time. We talked a little bit earlier today, and I reminisced on, I called you on a Saturday hoping that you had the day off. And you said, man, in this job, you know, it's no days off. And so I'm grateful for the time that you spent protecting us, the residents of the city of Chicago. And I'm also really glad that you now will get a chance to have some me time and spend some well-deserved time with your family. So thank you very much.
Thank you, President Foreman. It's been tremendous for me these past 31 years, almost 40 if you include my time in the Marine Corps. So public service isn't easy, but it's more than a calling. It's just, I can't really describe it, but I've enjoyed every moment of it, and I wouldn't change anything over the last nearly 40 years for anything. So it's been my honor and pleasure to work with the police board and the many community organizations and groups and citizens throughout the city of Chicago through my tenure. So I thank everyone for all the support they've given myself, the Chicago Police Department, and everybody in public safety for trying to make Chicago a safer place for everyone.
Thank you.
And with that, please just let me get right into tonight's remarks. Once again, thank the board and all the members of the community who are here for this month's meeting. As President Foreman just said, my last official day with the Chicago Police Department will be May 15th. Bittersweet, but I know I'm leaving the department set up for a successful future. So I'm confident in that. But it's been one of my greatest honors in life to serve and protect the city and as well as our nation. Our great work together is going to impact Chicago's police department, and will always matter in the lives and communities of our fellow Chicagoans. So everyone here, thank you for public safety and strengthening this department. The men and women of Chicago Police Department are committed to serving and protecting all residents and businesses of the city of Chicago. And this past weekend, we saw hundreds of teens and young adults gather downtown. It's unfortunate that some of them engaged in violent and disruptive behavior. And as we look towards summer, I want to emphasize we will continue working alongside community organizations, diverse leaders, youth outreach workers, anyone we can that can help provide safe spaces and alternatives for our youth across the city of Chicago. So we're trying to ensure that these resources are available to protect those visiting Chicago who are living here, working in areas near the large gatherings. So from an increased police and command staff presence at these gatherings citywide to our strategic decision support centers, we'll be monitoring all activity, and all police cameras will be able to ensure that we allocate and position our resources throughout the city as necessary. But I can always say that we will not and we cannot tolerate any type of reckless and just dangerous behavior and activities from our youth or anyone putting themselves and innocent people in harm's way. So I want to be clear that everyone is welcome downtown, but anyone engaging in criminal activity will have to be held accountable. Right now, year to date, our homicides are down 10.8%. Our shootings have decreased about 9.8%. And the number of shooting victims fell 12.5% citywide compared to the same time frame in 2022. So Chicago's officers have taken over 3,100 guns off the streets since January 1st. And just this past weekend alone, we recovered over 100 firearms citywide. CPD also remains focused on the top 55 beats. We're actually going to try to expand those to a top 100 a little bit later, just before summer. But where more than half of the city's violent crime occurs, we continue to do strategic deployments and focus on those locations. We're committed to ensuring Chicagoans feel safe, whether it's in the public, in their homes, or on public transportation. We have police officers out and visible across the transit system every day. And year-to-date overall crime is down 4% on the public transit system as compared to the same time frame in 2022. And we are steadfast in our efforts to enhance public safety, engaging our communities, and transforming our department. So at the beginning of the week, the Chicago Police Department filed its status report for the 7th Independent Monitoring Report period under the consent decree. And during this period, we revised and drafted new policies. We reviewed the key topics. We included use of force and crisis intervention while continuing to prioritize partnerships within the communities we serve. And we will keep collaborating with residents on a better way of serving and developing and enhancing our policies that affect them and their families. And since our last meeting, Chicago's first responders and all residents were called to a rally together again in a terrible set of circumstances. No one could have imagined. The Chicago Fire Department lost 2 firefighters back-to-back, 1 day apart, firefighter Jermaine Pelt and Lieutenant Jan Torek in the same week. Even more heartbreaking to these tragic events as they unfolded just a day apart, the last of which happened 5 weeks ago, was Officer Andres Vasquez Lasso, who was killed in the line of duty. So our city and this nation watched as we laid firefighter Pelt and Torek to rest last week, and we'll always remember them as heroes. The Chicago Fire Department is always there with us side by side in everything we do, and we will continue to be there for them. Whether it's through our presence and support of peer counselors, I'm proud the Chicago Police Department was able to be there and offer additional support and resources for our brothers and sisters. We will always be bonded by our call to serve, and we'll always be inspired by our commitment to the people of Chicago. Once again, thank you. It's been my honor to be the interim superintendent, first deputy in my entire career. So with that, I can't thank everyone for all the outpouring of support, words of encouragement, text, emails, and phone calls. And I pledge to continue to support not only the work of this board, but the Chicago Police Department and the entire city of Chicago as best I can. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, Chief Kirsten for your COPA report.
Thank you, President Foreman. I too just want to express my congratulations to you, Interim Superintendent Carter, on your retirements, and my sincere gratitude and thanks for your role leading the department, particularly in these critical weeks and months of transition. And this work is never easy, no matter what level you're doing it at, but to lead all of the men and women of the Chicago Police Department is certainly an important role and one that we greatly appreciate you playing. So thank you and best of luck to you in this next chapter. I also want to officially congratulate and welcome the 2 new members of the police board. This is certainly important work as well, and just excited to have you guys on board and get to know a little bit about you, and for you to know and understand the role that COPA plays in the work that we do here. So having said that, I will report out on our statistics over the last month, as I do at every police board meeting. In the last month, we have received 510 complaints and notifications. 97 of those remained under COPA jurisdiction, meaning they fell under our specific guidelines of what cases we investigate, and others went to the Bureau of Internal Affairs or other external entities for further investigation. As we typically see month over month, the highest kind of complaint, 45% of our complaints that stayed under COPA's jurisdiction were again improper search or seizure or your Fourth Amendment allegations. We also received 3 officer-involved shooting notifications in this last month, and we're able to conclude 2 officer-involved shooting cases that are with the department for their review. Additionally, of all the cases that we closed, our sustained case rate remained at around 15%, which is in line with the national average. And we also had 1 video release. Speaking a little bit to the new board members, to the extent they're not aware, COPA is responsible for implementing the city's video release policy. That's triggered.
Give me 1 second, Chief. Mr. Moore, Jasmine, can you please mute Mr. Moore? Thank you.
So the city's video release policy states that we, COPA, are to release and make public videos, audio evidence, and written documentation such as case reports, use of force, tactical response reports, et cetera, anytime there's an officer-involved shooting or some other fatality in police custody or as a result of police action, or also any sort of excessive force causing serious injury. So when those incidents arise, we are mandated to release under this policy within 60 days those materials to the public, and that's often where media outlets and other individuals pick up that information. COPA doesn't release that information with any sort of narrative or finding associated with the materials. It's simply objective evidence for the public to consume as our investigations are ongoing. And so we had 1 such video release in the last month. Additionally, we were out and about in the community, kind of all over the place, but the aspect of our community engagement I'd like to focus the most on would be our COPA People's Academy. I know we've talked about it at prior police board meetings, and we just concluded the 5th of 6 weeks this last Tuesday. As many of you know, those engagements engagements are taking place at the Bauer Plummer Joint Public Safety Training Center, which is a great privilege for us to be able to utilize that beautiful space as part of the broader public safety system. I think it's important for COPA to have a role and utilize that space. And week after week, we've had great turnout from local community. We had over 90 applicants enroll in our first inaugural class here from Chicago, and over 70 different folks from around the country that have been participating virtually in our hybrid sort of Zoom option as well. And so we've just really been heartened by the engagement that we've had with individuals, a lot of questions, a lot of people wanting to understand more deeply and meaningfully the work that goes on at COPA, as well as how we fit into the broader public safety system. So really been encouraged by the turnout, and often feel that community engagement, educational opportunities, those conversations and dialogues that we have with members of the community, that is what the work of reform often looks like. It's about informing people, helping them understand the context within which incidents occur, and making sure that they have facts and real information, not assumptions, or misinformation that may be available in other forms. So it's really been a positive experience. We will be offering it again in the fall, and we've already had a lot of outreach about people wanting to sign up in the future, and even some current attendees saying they're sad that next week is the last week. So I think it's been a pretty big success for our first go around, and we're just excited to continue that program. Additionally, I would like to just give one kind of general operational update. You know, in this line of work, there's not often things that we all can agree on, but one of the things that I think is pretty unanimously agreed upon is that COPA needs to continue to work to reduce the amount of time it takes us to conclude these important investigations. And so I've spoken before in the past about our caseload, sort of our approach to how we are trying to decrease that. And I do want to report at the conclusion of the first quarter of 2023, which wrapped up on March 31st, we were down to 1,550 cases, which had been well over 1,700 at the end of last year, beginning of this quarter. And that's the first time since before the pandemic where we have had a caseload that low. So it's been several years. It's been back to 2019 since we've gotten our caseload to that level. And we have a lot of operational improvements and plans that we intend to continue implementing and rolling out over this next year to continue that downward trend. Officers and complainants and impacted parties and families deserve resolution on these cases in a much faster timeline. And so that's just simply work that we must undertake and prioritize as an agency. And again, as I said, there's not a whole lot that we always all see eye to eye on, but this is certainly an area that we do. And so we're looking forward to continuing our partnership with BIA and other stakeholders. We've already had some initial meetings about ways that we're going to continue to keep these numbers moving in the right direction. And we're just excited about that as an agency. So that's my report. Thank you for the time.
Excellent news, Chief. I also wanted to tell you that I was at a meeting at the 3rd District 2 weeks ago and sat next to a community member, someone from Communities Organized to Win, from the Chatham community. They often come to the police board meetings, and they raved about the academy. And so keep up the good work. They wanted to make sure that I knew that this was a great program. They wanted to make sure that more people from their community could get access to it. And they really did like the new facility, right? So they definitely felt that this was something for the people. So bravo.
I appreciate that feedback, and everyone that's participating in person is getting the full tour next week of that amazing facility. And I just think that's a great thing for Chicago, for folks to know what has been built there. So thank you.
Yes. All right. Wonderful. I will now call upon members of the public who signed up in advance to speak. To make sure we have time to hear from all speakers, there's a 2-minute time limit on comments. Our first speaker is listed as Corey Dooley, but I see Jacques, so I'm not sure if Corey is on or Jacques, if you're speaking. Corey or Jacques?
Yeah, I can represent the council today. Is everybody able to hear me okay? My name is Jacques Stefanik. I am on the council for the Chicago Youth Council for Police Accountability. And, you know, we are just kind of revamping our efforts and being involved in the community. And we are going to be hosting a resource fair in the coming months, probably in the summertime. And we would actually like to extend the invitation to the board to get involved. And, you know, if you all want to come by, get involved with our activities, you know how to reach us. So we just wanted to extend that invitation to you all. And yeah, that's about it for the council for this month. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Our next speaker, Robert Moore. Mr. Moore, if you can unmute one of your phones by pressing *6, only one.
Mr. Foreman, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Okay, thank you. Conjecture in the March meeting, and I just couldn't put the piece in the puzzle.
Mr. Moore, hey, Jasmine, can you stop the clock for a second? Mr. Moore, I don't know if you can hear me, Mr. Moore. We can't hear you.
You still can't hear me?
I can hear you now, so stay in the same place. Don't move around. We're going to start the clock over again because we couldn't hear you.
Okay, I acknowledge that to Mr. Foreman, and I also acknowledge that in the March meeting, he substantial.
Okay, Mr. Moore, let's try this, Mr. Moore. The phone that you're on, mute that phone and pick up the other phone. Let's see if we can get this to work. Mr. Moore, can you hear us? Mr. Moore, I know you're a regular participant, so I hate to cut your time off if we can't get you, but technology is not working so well today. Unfortunately, Mr. Moore, we cannot hear you. So we're going to have to adjourn. Unfortunately, maybe you can send your comments to Max. I don't know if you can still hear me. Perhaps you can send comments to Max and we will try to get them input into the record. If you can email Max or Jasmine a copy of your comments. And next month we'll be in person. We won't have this technology delay. At this time, all members of the public who signed up to speak have been called. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Paul.
Second, Michael Eady.
The motion has been passed. I shouldn't say that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion has been passed. The meeting is adjourned. Superintendent, I'm gonna invite you, man. Anytime you want to come on back, you know, you can come to Public Safety Headquarters. We're the third Thursday. We welcome you back anytime, or join on CAN TV. You know?
I will be a lively participant. I'll see you there.
Yeah, we'll have you testify as part of the public. Then we'll hear the real story, right?
Right.
There you go. All right. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Be safe, everyone.